Hello there, everyone. It's Guildmaster Dan, and I come to you with an update. I said I would never leave you on Sunday without anything, and I meant it. So I'm giving you a little vlog update here. Since my last update, I have regrouped to battle these computer demons, and I have been hard at work in my new editing software. And there's good news and bad news. Good news is I'm making progress. I'm kind of getting caught up on my editing, and I should have videos for you guys in a day or two. That being said, there is also some bad news. I mentioned in the last video I recorded 3 hours of Let's Play footage. That footage has also eaten itself, so pretty much I completely lost that. I would just do it again, but it was pretty much it was a horror game. I was planning on playing a certain very popular horror game for you guys for Guild Month, which I'm still going to keep secret because I still might be able to do it at some point. But in lieu of that not working out, I downloaded a game I had never played. It was an RPG Maker game called Yumi Nikki, which I ended up playing. And I mean, it's not strictly a horror game. It's more of a dream simulator, and those can often be quite scary at times, as I've played LSD Dream Simulator and now I've played Yumi Nikki, and yeah, they're both kind of similar. If you played one, if you played one and liked it, you'll probably like the other. But yes, I recorded 3 hours of footage in that. Some of it was quite amusing with my reactions to certain things, but unfortunately, the audio completely messed up due to the bugs in my computer. And it's completely unfixable. I tried adjusting it, and I got it to where like the game audio is correct, but then my narration audio is not, and I don't have a way of fixing that in the editing software that I have. Now, there's also no point for me going back and playing that again, as it's not quite as random as LSD Dream Simulator. So the same scares that happened to me the first time around, well, I know where they are, and they wouldn't scare me again, so my reactions wouldn't be genuine. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that, a lesson learned, as I believe I know what caused the initial screw-up in the audio. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that lesson learned, and I'll find a different horror game to play. I don't know, maybe I'll play Sweet Home. That's not necessarily a really scary game, but that's another that would fit with my other two games and kind of classic games to play. But if you guys have any suggestions for horror games to play, feel free to shoot me a message or leave a comment below to let me know. Keep in mind though, I have said in the past I'm a Markiplier fan, so I have seen a lot of the ones that are really popular out there. Just to name a few, just to get them out of your way. You shouldn't really suggest for me Amnesia. I've seen SCP Containment Breach, but I think I might be able to do that because that's randomized every time. But all right, Outcast. I don't know, the one in the asylum. I saw all of that. Of the RPG Maker games, I saw Crooked Man. I saw Paranoiac, Witch's House, Ebe. I really liked Ebe. What was the other one? There was another one. Oh, Mad Father. Yeah. So yeah, I have seen Mark play a lot of those games. So if you have a horror game that maybe is a little bit more obscure and is legit scared the crap out of you, yeah, I'd love to give it a try and let you guys see what my scared face looks like. Otherwise, I'll probably, till I find one, maybe I'll get you guys some more Ocarina of Time or Final Fantasy and go from there. Other than that, that's pretty much what's going on. I should have a video for you guys in a day or two. Unfortunately, my Guild Month Let's Play plans were shot in the foot. I do plan on doing another Let's Play soon, so, I'll have something for you guys. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the channel. That being said, I'm going to leave a little warning here, because I have been thinking about something else that it kind of goes with my the video game side of my channel. So for those of you who are here mainly for the tabletop gaming side, you can go ahead and stop here. I'll forgive you. But I'm going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog for a little bit here. For those of you who are interested in the video game side of it and not interested in Sonic, go ahead and check out as well. For the grand total of like 1 or 2 of you that are interested, I'm going to give my thoughts on a couple of new things in Sonic. And yes, that includes the Sonic Boom announcement and the character redesigns, but also the comics. Something that some of you know, but not most of you won't, is I'm actually a very large Sonic fan. I really enjoy the games. I've been reading the comic for a long time, and I enjoyed the cartoons back in the day. And just generally, I like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I have lots of memorabilia. I mean, some of you guys may have noticed. Hold on. Some of you guys may have noticed in the background of my Halloween episodes, Sonic here. This is actually a hand-knitted Sonic from a close friend who gave it to me as a wedding gift. Very cool. Thank you, Amanda. We'll go put him... We'll just set him aside here. But very big Sonic fan. And for a little while there, I got a little busy and I wasn't able to keep up on the comics. Yes, comics. Because for those of you who are unfamiliar, Sonic the Hedgehog actually has the longest running comic book for a video game character. And he actually has 2 comic lines right now. They're both done by Archie Comics. Well, actually, there's multiple comic lines, but 2 in the main continuity. There's Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Universe, which are both in the same continuity from Archie Comics. Archie Comics also does Sonic X, and I think there's also an Australian Sonic comic, but I haven't read that at all. Anyway, for any of you who've read the comics, I stopped reading at about when they were doing the crossover with the Archie Mega Man comic, which is a cool idea, and that crossover ended up being really cool. But just recently, I've been able to actually start reading again and get myself caught up to date. And there's some things to comment on. Essentially, for those of you unfamiliar who have still stuck around, what's been happening with Archie Comics is they started out with a continuity that combined the story from the games and the popular cartoon shows and just kind of merged them into this amalgamation storyline, and they've worked from there and like developed an entire world and mythology from there, as like games have come out, incorporating the aspects from those games into the comics, or at least doing like a one-off, like, not in continuity shot for that game. But the point being, like, there's like a full mythology and developed world here that they've been working on. It's actually, I've heard like people who are fans of the comics talk about how they like the Sonic comic better than mainstream comics, because whereas mainstream comics is obsessed with the status quo, the Sonic comic, you actually see ongoing character development. Well, pretty much, if you started way back when and you stuck with it for a long time, you've seen ongoing character development, you've seen changes in the world, and that you don't always have this like reset back to status quo. Now, that being said, in recent years, Archie has been having some legal problems in that one past artist who was responsible for large portions of the story and many of the most popular characters and villains left the company. I don't remember if he was fired or if he quit. But the point being is after he left the company, he sued because he never received royalties for the company using his characters and concepts. He also sued Sega because he felt that their Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood, I think that's the full name of it. I have it, but I don't really remember the name offhand. But essentially, Sega came out with the Sonic RPG for the DS, and he felt that the storyline in that was far too close for his liking to a story that he had done. And knowing both stories, admittedly, it is kind of close. But, yeah. As close as far as ancient civilization that disappeared and is now back. As original as that idea can be, the fact that they both do... Well, anyway. Point being, he sued Sega, and he sued Sega over that for copyright infringement, and then he also sued Archie for never paying him any royalties for that, for using his characters and storylines. That case is still ongoing. And on top of that, Archie has also received pressure from Sega to make the comic closer to the game, so, it can more accurately, attract fans of the games rather than, build a fan of the comic base, which, as schizophrenic as Sega team or Sonic team can be with, what's the next game going to be, you can see some problems with that. Well, with both of those things happening, putting pressure on the writers, there's also been a leadership battle at Archie as well over, who should have controlling interest of the company, as it is a privately owned company. So there's just been all sorts of legal problems in the last few years at Archie, right? Well, this has negatively affected the comic, which people have been around with for, anyone who's been here since the beginning. The comic's been going for 20 years, single continuity. And, people have stuck around since those early times, and all that development and that mythology that's built up, they're seeing that being hindered on by these real-life sources outside. Pretty much, there was a story element introduced, known as the Genesis Bomb. It was Dr. Eggman essentially gathers the Chaos Emeralds, and he unleashes the Genesis Bomb, which allowed him to rewrite history, pretty much. Now, that was introduced as a anniversary thing for them to go to write up a story for, like, the original 3 Sonic games, including the Sat-Am, or Saturday morning cartoon characters, like Sally Acorn and Antoine and Bunny. The characters who are very popular in the comic now, because they were adopted from early on. Anyway, so including those characters in there and going through the first 3 Sonic games, it kind of did this like retro story arc deal, which ended with it coming back to the normal world that everybody was used to. But with that, pretty much, with them introducing that plot device, it allows them to mass retcon everything. Pretty much what people complained about in Marvel Comics post House of M, how like after that reality rewrite, they could pretty much retcon anything that they wanted. Well, the motivation for them was to, we got to put things back at the status quo because everybody likes a status quo. For Archie Comics, it's been, all right, we have to use this Genesis Bomb now to rewrite the world and kind of like push all those ideas that are, in question over whether or not we can get sued for it down over there. And like they're still sort of there. People remember them, but we're not ever going to touch them ever until all of these issues are resolved. That's really, it's really hurt the story of the comic. And for someone who's been there for a long time, seeing them take entire characters, plot elements, pretty much entire sections of this world, and just like seal it in a bubble and shove it down deep underneath, where nobody can see it, it's very disappointing. For whatever you want to say about, or for any Sonic fans out there watching this, whatever you want to say about Ken Penders, which being the writer, I like his characters. He came up with like 5 major villains for the series, and I like all of them. I like all of his characters and his story elements that he introduced. He was a good writer, and he came up with good stuff. Say what you want about him being able to defend his own rights. Win or lose this, he has hurt the comic for pretty much for the fans. And that sucks, because pretty much all those things, they're not going to be touched unless he loses. If they win, guaranteed, they will never be touched again. If Archie has to pay money to this guy, they're never touching that stuff again. And I meant that when I said 5 major villains. Yes, there is more than there are more villains than Eggman in the Sonic comic. They've developed over the years. There are 5 major villains, like big villains, that have been very important parts of the storyline in building this mythology. And right now, we're back to our... Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Just recently, about when I started reading again, there was another Eggman and Dr. Wily, because of the crossover, unleashed another Genesis bomb. And the world got reset and rewritten. Well, I guess not reset. It got rewritten. Only Sonic remembered all of his memories from the previous world. Now, the current story that's going on right now is he's going around and finding all of the freedom fighters, his friends, and giving them their set of memories from the previous world. That way, for readers, who have been around for a long time, that stuff's not gone. They remember it. It's still over there. Kind of, it might come back, maybe. Yeah. And it's very disappointing because the rewrite is... It's very disappointing. That's the best way I can put it. The fans of the comics find the characters in a new world where things are similar, but not all the same. And a lot of those things that they came to love over the course of 20 years have been not necessarily erased. They can very easily, with the stroke of a pen, write it back in. But put behind a closet door, behind a curtain, that they won't ever pull back again unless they win this legal case. Which I understand, but it sucks. It really does. My favorite villain in the entire comic is, in fact, one of those 5 major villains that cannot be touched. And it really sucks. That being said, for the stuff that they're coming out with now, I'm disappointed that we're potentially losing all that stuff. But the current writer of the comic, he's a pretty good writer too. He made some mistakes coming into the comic, but he's had some pretty good stories and introduced some pretty cool elements to the series. And he seems to legitimately love the comic and love building the world and writing in it. So I have faith in him that this rewritten story won't necessarily be bad. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a chance to entertain me, to enthrall me the way that the old stories did. But it just really sucks seeing all of that, that 20 years of stories pretty much being half, maybe 3/4 rewritten, because one guy would not accept pay for hire, or would not accept his pay for hire status. Without going too much into that, I will say in terms of that, for any Sonic fans out there, the way I fall onto it is, yes, he's entitled to defend his rights over his stuff, as it seems like if he's correct, he has a legitimate claim to this, because Archie may not have had him sign a work-for-hire contract. That being said, the guy wants to... his demands are Archie pay him money, royalties for using his stories, and B, to give him, or for B, for him to keep or earn the license to write stories with those characters. He has plans of writing a comic with these characters. He's pretty much gave an up you to all the fans of the comic by saying, no, because I'm not getting paid for it, you can't have these stories in the main comic. I'll write a story for you right over here. I'll make a nice independent comic for you. But no, in their association with everything else, no, they're not, because I'm not getting paid for it. Yes, he has rights to defend his work, but win or lose, he's screwed over the comic. If he loses, which, I gotta say, not knowing the guy and just being a fan of the comic, and I'm kind of rooting for Archie to win this one, because maybe those stories and those characters I love will come back. Because they won't until he loses. If he wins, they will never come back. They will probably be completely written out, instead of shoved in a closet. So, But I'm ranting. This is why I gave you guys the warning that if you do not like the video game side of my of my channel, or you don't like Sonic, just cut out. But if you've been watching this long, power to you. Then you and me are Sonic fans. Awesome. And I kind of have similar feelings about the new Sonic Boom announcement that they made. Sonic Boom, for those of you unfamiliar that have miraculously stuck around this long, you guys really are Rabble Masters. Anyway, Sonic Boom is like the new video game and TV series that they're coming out with. It's taken like four of the main characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and redesigned them, and it's pretty much doing its own thing. It's doing a brand new world, and actually that's a good thing, I feel, as something that a lot of people don't seem to realize about the Sonic fandom is that the Sonic fandom is and always has been schizophrenic, and that is to say, it's made up of a bunch of different groups that like Sonic, or that like different Sonics for different reasons. That's the weirdest thing. It's hard for me to describe because I can't think of other fandoms that are like that. Pretty much, there are those who are only sort of part of the fandom that really love those first 3/4, counting Knuckles, Sonic games. Like, man, I love this. Oh, it's all about speed. All these new games suck because they're slow. There's too much platforming. Who are these other characters? I don't care. I just want to play Sonic. I want to run in a speed. I want to be in a speed thing. All right. I am not of this group, obviously. Personally, of the Sonic video games, I like the Sonic Adventure games. The ones that started on Dreamcast, went into GameCube, and kind of went a little bit into like Xbox. That storyline, that set of games, I liked. And I liked those better than the classic game. When I got Sonic Generations, I only played the classic Sonic portions when I had to. It's the modern Sonic ones that I played over and over again, and I love those. The thing that that set of fans doesn't get is that those old Sonic games weren't really about speed. They were about platforming. Short of like 2 levels where you run for like 40 seconds. A lot of that was platforming and getting into boss fights. But they think it's all about speed because that's what the marketing said back then, was it's about speed, it's faster and more cool than Mario, but whatever. No, it wasn't about speed. It was just as much about platforming as Mario. The new 3D ones, yeah, they did the 3D platforming just like Mario did. At times they didn't do it as well, for sure. Not perfect. But, they took that and then did more story with it. Yes, there are people who like the characters and the stories that have come out of it. I like the characters and stories out of that. So do a lot of other people. But that's like there's like there are the fans that like the old games and hate everything else that's modern day, and only like the nostalgic stuff. You have the people that liked that set of games and like those characters. So they want to see them, so they're pulling on Sega Team to, hey, keep the characters in. We want to see more stuff with them. And then you have the people who, who liked the cartoons and the comic, and then you have the people that just like video games in general that, I don't blame their views of Sonic in that pretty much any Sonic game that ships, no matter how good it is, it's dead on arrival because the video game industry at large views it as pointless. Because no matter what they release, nobody's happy about it. Like I said, there's at least 3 different groups of Sonic fans that are completely separate from one another and all have separate demands on Sonic Team. And every game they come out with, the most they'll only ever please is 2. And unfortunately, all of those groups are just as loud. And the people that are outside that are just general video game fans that might have played, Sonic here or there, don't really... I don't want to say they don't get it, because it's not true. It's just they have an outsider's perspective. from the inside, and trust me, there's just many misconceptions from the inside, but from an outsider's perspective, I don't blame them for thinking, you know, every Sonic game is dead on arrival, because it's not that they're all bad, it's just that Sonic Team does not know what to do, because they have different fan bases that want different... They have one fan base that all want different things, and they're trying to find, instead of picking one and going with it and like making a, like, this is Sonic, these things are Sonic, go with it or get out. They're trying to cater to all of them, and anybody who has done, you know, interpersonal politics in an organization can tell you, when you try to please everybody, you please nobody, and that's exactly what Sonic has been doing since those first games. The reason why everybody says, "Oh, those first games they're so amazing," is they were consistent. They knew who Sonic was, they knew what the franchise was, and they went with it. But ever since then, okay, I take that back. They also had that with the adventure games. The adventure games were also very internally consistent, and they knew what they were doing with Sonic then. But ever since then, Sonic Team has had no idea what to do, because completely separate fans between those two things, and you know, the people who liked the classic Sonic, that were fans of that, hated the modern day Sonic stuff. The modern day Sonic stuff tends to get lumped in with the crappy ones that came out, and just generally it's just this mishmash and just weird fandom to be in. Every other fandom I'm in, like I don't have a comparison to draw to it. It's the weirdest fandom. But that being said, Sonic Boom has potential. In that the game and the show are going to be consistent, in that they're going to be the same storyline. They're going with a distinct design and a distinct feel to the game, which might not be bad. You know, it's a reinvention, sure. We get enough of those today, but you know, it might not be bad. In fact, from the clip I saw of the show, it was quite amusing. It had a very tongue-in-cheek humor to it that I quite enjoyed. The redesigns aren't bad. Sonic looks a little weird. I like Amy and Tails' redesign. I don't particularly care for Knuckles' redesign. I don't see what the problem with him was before. But you know, like I said, I'm going to give it a shot because it might not be bad. But on top of that, there's a level of consistency that you're going to see between those two. And if they stick with that consistency, if Sonic Team says, "This is Sonic, take it. This is Sonic. Get on or get out." You know, I feel that that's what that company needs to do to actually find some damn success, with some legitimate, acknowledgeable by outsiders success. Instead, to grow outside of just being a niche market and actually get themselves to a level that, you know, Sonic might not be considered dead on arrival every time that a game comes out. But those are my feelings right now. If you've stuck around this long, you're either a Sonic fan or you were really dedicated to my channel. In either case, power to you guys. Yeah, I've been wanting to get these thoughts out there, so I hope you were entertained or intrigued. You know, I am gonna actually do my normal ending here, because, you know, I talked about a lot of stuff with the Sonic. I mean, not with the update, but with the Sonic stuff, you know, if you agreed with something, or if you agreed with what I had to say, or if you disagreed with something I had to say, or if there was a part of the conversation that you wanted to add, please feel free to leave a comment below. If you're not a Sonic fan and you've watched this long and you know someone who is a Sonic fan, share it with them. Maybe they'll have opinions on this, or maybe they'll check out the comic, which I highly recommend. It is a very cool comic. I very much enjoyed it. It's just like superhero comics. It's just with Sonic characters. It's very fun, and I highly recommend it. But if you disagree with something I had to say, or if you had something to add, please leave a comment below, share with Sonic fans, and I should have videos for you guys soon. So, see ya.